All right. So, what's our question of the week?
Um, oh, I did have it. What happened? Where'd my brain go? Oh yeah, my questions of the week is: do the Oscars have the same like power and name that they did 20 or 10 years ago? Like, do they really matter that much anymore? Because I feel like,
No.
yeah, I feel like the past 10 years of movies they've been great movies, but a lot of the time it's either been just popularity contests or just weird upsets. And
Well, think about
it's just a
the last 10 years. When you think about the Oscars over the last decade, even, nobody remembers the ceremonies for what actually won. They remember them for the controversies. They remember the Moonlight La La Land thing. They remember the slap. They remember the snubs. They remember some stupid things people say in their speeches. Uh, they remember, I don't know, Ellen's selfie with the room. They remember, I don't know, what anything else come to mind?
Marlon Brando not accepting the award
Well, that
and
was the
having a
same
Native
time
American
around.
person do the speech.
That was
Oh, right. 10
I'm
years.
talking
My
about
bad.
last 10 years.
I don't know. Just Jimmy Kimmel talking. Just like, shut up, man. Like, let's go. We gotta, we got a show to do.
Sure, like Seth MacFarlane
Taking
going
way too
on.
long.
People were like, "Oh, that's too offensive," or whatever. People are
Yeah. No, that was funny. I like that one.
well. You didn't hire him thinking he was going to do a clean act, did you?
No. Well, what's really funny is he did the way he presented it was like they had they had people be like, "Hey, I'm from the future, and you do this really offensive thing. Oh, what's that really offensive thing? Oh, we'll show you." It's like, "Oh, but I didn't really do it." And he does a whole song about like actresses' boobs that have been on the big screen. It's just really, to me, it was smart comedy. But if he just did that without that bit, it'd probably be a lot more controversial now.
Yeah, Seth MacFarlane's weird because he's on the surface he's vulgar, and people who don't really think about the jokes will find it funny, but he's also clever at the same time. So it's not
Yeah,
really my style of humor, but I respect his artistry. He's good at what he
he's
does.
very talented. He's a very talented jazz singer too.
He is a talented musician. I like seeing the Family Guy clips where he's distinctly voicing everybody in the scene, but making them come together at the same time. Anyway, we're not talking about Seth MacFarlane. We're talking about, are the awards relevant? They can't even hold our attention enough to talk through this question of the week. Uh,
They
they,
just don't have. It feels like they don't have the same impact that they did like 10 years ago. I don't know what it is.
I'll tell you what they are to me. They're just a list of movie recommendations. Really, uh, I don't tend to. Most of the movies that are nominated for the Oscars, I find them a catch-22 because I look at the list. My first reaction is getting pissed off because the movies I saw aren't on the list. And that's a common reaction. That's how most people feel when they see them. But me as a film fan, I also take a look at that list and say, okay, but people who know what they're talking about mostly say these movies are worthy of recognition. And maybe there were movies I saw, more popular movies, that do deserve to be on this list, but also these really great movies may not have ever gotten the same level of recognition if they weren't on this very prestigious list. And I have, and most, some of my favorite movies of the last 10 years, I would not have gone to see if they weren't nominated for Oscars. I just wouldn't have even bothered. So I do think it's important for that. It gives very prestigious recommendations to people like me who are maybe hesitant with their time, don't go to see things more on word of mouth or brand recognition, or just if it catches my attention, I'll go see it. But if I haven't heard of it at all, I'm less willing to give it a chance. The Oscars are really good for quelling some of those doubts, making me more willing to try new things. So I do give it
That's
credit for
fair.
that, and that's why I don't want to see them go away. I don't give them. I take their recommendations with a grain of salt because I know it'll either actually be spectacular or just, oh, here we go. Okay, this is just Hollywood loving itself, and it's not actually that good, but it references Hollywood personalities, or it talks about the film industry. It's like it's something they all get. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get why they love it, but so it can go either way. It's not always, it's not always a reliable source, but it's done some good things.
Yeah, fair. No, I totally agree with everything you said. I think it doesn't have the same impact on just what it used to have like 10 years ago, just because of all the stuff that they've really left out. I mean, just because of really dumb reasons, like, oh, it's just a box office movie, or it's a franchise movie, comic book movie, fantasy movie, like just silly things like that. Sequel movies, it's just, they're almost like they think they're like too prestigious, and they don't have to be. Just nominate the best films of that year.
I think the other problem is that our media landscape is so fractured nowadays. Even 20 years ago, everyone just went to the movies or had cable TV or whatever. There were only a couple channels to pick from. So many movies you could see in a theater unless you went to some low-budget indie theater or film festivals. Nowadays, with streaming services in the game, all making original content, most of which really isn't worth your time, but there's so many, like, and especially with independent cinema the way it is now, where average people have better access to decent quality equipment that they can make Oscar-worthy films on. There's too much to recognize, and you can't please enough people anymore. 20 years ago, you look at an Academy Award list, and most people will have seen the stuff on that list just because that was really all there was to go see at the time. Now we have too many choices, so your average person will be lucky to have seen a third of the lists anymore. I think that's a big factor too. People don't always take into account.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just the way
Yeah.
media is nowadays. There's more of it around than we can all go see.
It's just going to be more and more and more.
No, I don't think so. The bubble's bursting.
What, you don't think there's going to be a Warner Brothers Plus or an Apple Plus?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They can't even sustain their back catalogs on these streaming services anymore.
They
Their
can't.
back catalogs that they own. Their originals are they're hemorrhaging money on these originals more than they're actually making from the streaming service. Like, it's bad investments all around.
I saw a funny meme where it's like, I can't wait till they release the MCU Plus, and they can't wait till Star Wars Plus. It's just like franchises have their own streaming services.
DC tried that. It bombed.
Ugh. Not good.
I don't remember what it was called now. It was just it was DC All Access, I think it was called, something like that. Or DC Universe. They had a cool thing on that service, I heard, where they would link it back to the comic books that inspired it, so you could go and
read it.
You could read it, or you can go somewhere to buy a digital copy, or they'd be like, this comic inspired this episode of Titans or whatever was on there. Like, Titans was the biggest thing to come from it at the time. They also produced a couple seasons of Young Justice on that one.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a thing for a little bit. I think the Harley Quinn show may have started there too. And that's still
probably. I think I remember that. Yeah.
It did have some success in the long term, but the service itself died. Anyway, Oscars, useless. not useless. Oscars irrelevant, but I still relevant to me in some ways. So that's why they're not
fair enough.
gone, because I think there's enough people who think like I do about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.